We need to find this place or we'll be late.
Make a left on Astrology Avenue. Oh, I'm sorry, I meant right. It should be right here at 444 Spearway. Oh, turn!
It looks like Renee. Yay, we're on time. The James and Kellee Show.
Great, let's start the show.
So we're going to talk tonight about something which everyone knows about, miracles. So there's a show about miracles. What's a miracle? So Kellee, I asked Kellee earlier, we did talk earlier about 3:30, and I said, so Kellee, describe a miracle. And you had the best description.
Okay, so
miracles, all you see is Jesus. And I'm like,
yeah. And that's not what we were talking about. But the definition of a miracle is a surprising and welcome event that is not explicable by natural or scientific laws, and it's therefore considered to be the work of a divine agency.
I love that.
And there's another one too. I've got two of them. An extraordinary and astonishing happening that is attributed to the presence and action of an ultimate or divine power.
That's great.
I love those.
They are great. Perfect. Yeah, that says it all, because I was looking for a great definition and I couldn't find one outside of Jesus. It was so Christian based. It was like, wow.
It really is. And you know, it's funny, James, and we talked about this, or you and I talked about this earlier. It's miracles. It doesn't have to have any religion. It's not about that. It's really about spirit. It's about, I would say, a lot of it has to do with angels, guides, loved ones on the other side, helping when they can or when they're allowed to, or preventing us from a lot of things, probably a lot of harm. What do you think?
Yeah, interesting. I don't know. It's just, I just want to go back to angels. They've gotten such and miracles. It's gotten such a bad rap in that when these happenings would occur, it used to be, before religious, it was just that, as you said, divine God,
divine intervention.
An intervention. And then the religion, Christianity, and some other religions as well, Buddhism, Hinduism, they use miracles, but they have a person that's attached, like Jesus. Jesus performs miracles. You know, Jesus said in the Bible, all of us can be like me, but even more than me. They know that God power within them. Right. And I think we have miracles every single day. They might not be outstanding, but my God, every day.
Today you were talking about your sunset.
The sunset was a miracle.
Right.
I look at the flowers that are coming up. I look at the change of the seasons. It's a miracle. I think it's great. It's a miracle to wake up every morning and to breathe. I think that's a miracle.
I do too. I think that too. Every day.
Yeah, and I think if people realize that there's more, that the universe conspires for our highest good, right. And probably more things happen for us than we're ever aware of. We're not aware of it usually, but things happen.
Well, and the more you pay attention spiritually, the more you think, oh wow, that could have been help. I think I just had some help there. But it's really about paying attention and being aware, being awake, be aware.
It's more, yeah, I agree. It's more being aware. It's more being in that mindset that you're very, very alert of really what's going on. Because that's the only time I'm not as alert is when I'm getting that lull in that 405 freeway in San Diego.
Right. Well, it's interesting. I had a situation. I mean, and I feel that this was I had a miracle situation, and probably many people have had this before. And James, maybe you've had this one too. But I actually had an experience. About 25 years ago, I was driving. I just gotten off the 405 freeway, actually. I was coming from Santa Monica in Los Angeles to Beverly Hills. And that traffic is so bad on Wilshire. I mean, you know how bad that traffic is. It's just awful. And as I was driving, and I was in a company car, and I was driving, and it was a new car. So I was driving. I had my mom in the front seat because I was taking her from Santa Monica to Beverly Hills. And I had my daughter in the back seat. And we stopped at Wilshire and Westwood. So you know what I'm talking about in Westwood. We like at UCLA, had tons and tons of people. And my car, I stopped. There was a red light, and I was the first one. All right, I stopped. And the light turns green, and I go to give it gas. And I go to give it gas, and my car won't move. And I felt like somebody was pushing my car back. And I'm doing this, and people are honking, and they're getting pissed off. And my mom's like, what's going on? I mean, it was really awful, actually. And then I was headed east, and a car headed south, must have gone 100 miles an hour. And we would have been killed. We definitely. And I know
Yeah.
That was a miracle. That was from a divine intervention where they were holding my car back. And I'll tell you, everybody that was walking in that area pivoted. They all stopped. We all looked around, and we all knew that there was some aspect of something that we had just experienced, almost as a group.
Sure.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I'm sure that's happened to a lot of people, but that was a big one.
I explained this a couple of weeks ago in this show, one of the miracles. I think every reading I do is a miracle, actually. Every
Right?
is a
So
miracle.
true.
When it stops being a miracle, I stop doing it. But every single connection to spirit is a miracle to me, because it's just amazing across dimensions and to be able to receive information from the
True.
discarnate to the carnate mind, and that the person understands it, is pretty miraculous, I feel. Boy, so many miracles. I mean, God looking in my puppy's eyes is a miracle. But yeah, I was once, I told this story just a little while ago. Had an old car in Chevy, 1960 something, and I just moved to LA in 1984. It was a Saturday night, and the car was $600. It was big old car. And all of a sudden, at the corner of Fountain and La Brea, which is very busy,
Yeah.
the car dies.
Ugh.
And I realized the gas gauge didn't work, so I probably had a gas. So I had to go get gas. And I went and knelt down in the back where the license plate is in the back under the trunk. You have to pull it open, put gas in. So I opened it, went and got gas, came back, and think, oh, I need a gas cap. So I went back, and split second, boom, a car hit that Chevy, and it ran up to the sidewalk. Had to be a hard hit because it was a heavy car. And to me, that was a miracle, without a doubt.
Right? No, without a doubt.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. Yeah.
I have to think that there's tons and tons and tons and tons of divine intervention that we don't even know about.
Yeah,
Constantly
I one of the
on the
book,
roads.
it was about a traffic thing, and I said a guy came and pushed a girl out of the way, and a car went by. I've seen that. Clairvoyantly, I've seen that. Yeah.
Wow. Well, and then we just had a big, what I'm going to call a miracle here in Wisconsin. There was a plane carrying, this was 5 days ago. So there was a plane carrying 53 dogs and 3 adults from Louisiana. They brought the dogs from shelters. They were going to kill the dogs and kill shelters in Louisiana, and they were bringing them to Wisconsin. So they were going to just distribute these dogs. We're going to find homes in Wisconsin. And they were on a plane, and the plane was headed towards Milwaukee, and something happened. We had some really weird weather. We've had really weird weather, and I don't know. They don't know yet how to determine what happened. But the plane went through some trees. It went through some trees. It sheared off the wings, and somehow it landed on a golf course. Now, that was a lot of help up there. It was, speaking of miracles, nobody was hurt. Some of them were shook up, but from what I understand, nobody was killed.
It was an escort plane, yeah.
Escort plane, yeah. You know what it reminded me of? The Miracle on the Hudson.
Yes.
The plane.
Definitely was. The Scully, yeah.
Reminded me of that. Gosh.
It's interesting. I wish I knew more about miracles, but I know coincidence. I always say coincidence is God's way of remaining anonymous.
I think that we're here to do certain things in life, and our time is not up. I know that we'll have certain exit points, but when there's not an exit point, or when we're so sad and we need something, often that's a time when something happens.
Yeah.
Like when I was in the hospital, James, I was so down. I can't even tell you how down I was. I was so down. And then I started praying, actually. And then I heard this dun 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 to my right, and there wasn't a door. And I'm like, Mom? And I'm telling you, that just lightened my load when I felt her presence. And that, to me, was a miracle.
Wow.
So
I just heard in my head, it's a miracle that you earth beings, never give up on yourself.
Yeah.
Never give up on yourself. That's the miracle.
Never.
True.
Never.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True. Wow.
Never.
Wow.
No.
Wow.
And and I had a good miracle too. This was interesting. This is from Jen Weigel, our friend Jen Weigel.
Yes.
Jen Weigel is a wonderful journalist. She's a spiritualist, and she does a lot of work
in Chicago.
And you inspired her, I think, for first.
Her one woman play about.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
I mean, it was a big deal, right? Oh my gosh. Well, she said, Kelly, I saw that you and James were going to do miracles. She said, can you share mine? And she had an amazing story. She said she was driving home from, I don't mean to just laugh, but from Wisconsin. One afternoon, she was going back to Chicago. I know. What is this? Anyway, and she said as she was driving, she was talking to her angels. And she said, I was just talking to them and I was saying, show me the next steps for my highest good and the highest good of all involved, which I love that. And she said, no matter how it shows up, just help me trust it, which is perfect. She said, I suddenly remembered that I needed dog food as she was driving. So she said, I pulled into a strip mall to get some supplies. And as I headed to check out, the woman behind the counter looked at my credit card and then she looked at me. And she said, wait a minute, did I just read that you're starting a nonprofit? The woman asked. And she said, she was stunned. She said, well, I recently applied for a nonprofit, but I had not gotten anything official in the mail that told me I was approved. She said, well, she said, I have one in the works, but it has not been publicized. And this woman behind the counter said, no, I swear, I just read that you just did this. You're a journalist, right? And she said, well, I am, but she said, it hasn't been, it has not been approved yet. And she said, well, that's so strong. She said, it's so strange. I wonder where I read it. Anyway, she gets home and in her paperwork from the state of Illinois, it was official. She had gotten her nonprofit, and her nonprofit is called STEP. And it's the Storytelling Education Project. And she said that was definitely a miracle. I mean, so she heard from this woman who, do they plant the seeds in this? It's fascinating how this works.
Yeah, you wonder if they plant the seeds in our mind, because sometimes they do. And we think that's the way it is. It's interesting that they play with time as well. And
yes, they can play with time.
With time. And I can't wait to find out all that when I pass over.
I know, right?
Because we're so in a direction, the human beings, and it's beginning millennium. We're so not that. When I'm writing up this cruise letter I'm doing, I'm talking about the soul traveling. It's going to be a cruise with soul traveling, and how we are so limited in our mindset to the physical body, the physical, when we're not. It's a very small part of who we are. We're such vast beings. And there's so much going on, and there's so many strings being pulled every day for our highest good. The universe cuts together for our highest good, always.
Right. It's always for our highest good. If we can just remember that. People get so stuck in their victimhood or their whatever, and miracles happen all the time. They're going to miss them. Yeah,
that becomes their story. They get closed in.
Yeah. I love this. Sharon Chamberlain says, I just had a clean CAT scan. Bravo. She said, lung cancer survivor going on 4 years. That is my miracle. It sure is, Sharon.
It is. God bless you. Great.
Really? Oh my gosh. Wow. And yeah, Vicky says, small miracles are amazing. Small miracles are amazing.
Every day.
I mean, you know what, James? I tell you what, the other day it snowed here. I walked outside because I wanted to get something, and I went to slip. Now, I don't know if you guys have ever done this before. It's happened to me a few times. I kind of slipped, and somehow as I was slipping, I thought, oh boy, I stood right up.
Wow.
And this is what I said. Thank you. I so appreciate you all catching me. That would have been a bad one.
Yeah, I've done that a couple of times in my yard, climbing up the hillside.
I remember you climbing up the hillside. Absolutely. So we call that our guides? Would we call just divine intervention of?
Hard to say, Kelly, because there's so many people looking after us, so many beings looking after us. I would think it's our personal guides around us, but who knows? I mean, it's hard to say. Right. I remember once when I lived in Laguna Beach, and I was in my office, which was separate from the house, and it was at nighttime, and I was out looking at the moon. I don't know what happened, and I fell off the ledge right into the brush. And
you hurt yourself.
I hurt myself. My glasses ended up somewhere. This ended up somewhere. I don't know where I was. And I crawled up and to the ledge and got on again. But yeah, my husband at the time, Brian, came in the next day and he said, "What happened? Your sneakers over here, your glasses are over there." It's like, I don't know. I just was looking at the moon.
I was looking at the moon. Oh my gosh.
Fell down. Yeah.
So this is a good question. It's not necessarily our topic, but it's a good question. This is from Margaret Regan Levine. She said, what am I supposed to learn from the intense grief that I'm enduring from my husband, Jason, passing to the other side? I need some direction. So it's going to be a miracle that we're going to answer that question.
Go right ahead, Kelly. You go first.
Okay. So what do we learn when we've had loss? We learn a lot of things, actually. First of all, just the fact that you are in intense grief. You loved deeply. So let's talk about that. You loved, you were, I think the lesson is always about what you're going to learn going forward, what it's like to, maybe you'll be helping others. Maybe you'll be, just learning this experience, having this experience so you can help others. It could be a soul contract that from another lifetime where he left the first time early, or that you left early and that he was here. And so what do you think, James?
Well, from the expert himself, I'm going to read you something.
Okay, good. Here we go.
No matter where we live or what language we speak, we share a common experience with everyone else on the planet. The loss of someone or something close to us. Loss can be sudden, without warning, or predictable, and still we are unable to prevent it from happening. All loss brings up feelings and memories, and for some, these experiences may seem uneventful, while for others, such loss changes the course of their lives forever. When someone or something is gone from our lives, we experience an array of physical, emotional, and spiritual sensations known as grief. Webster's dictionary defines grief as a deep and poignant distress caused by, or as if by bereavement, a cause of such suffering, a mishap, misadventure, trouble, annoyance, an unfortunate outcome, disaster. Why is there grief and why do we go through it? Grief serves as a very important purpose. It is a reaction to our loss. It represents our underlying sense of insecurity. Our fears of abandonment and feelings of vulnerability rise to the surface, forcing us to face them. The world upon which we predicated our belief system, goals, and our lives is generally suddenly out of control. We feel scared and exposed. Most of us don't want to deal with or feel these negative emotions, and yet they are just as relevant, as important as our well-being, as our positive feelings. We need both positive and negative to be fully human. It has been said that one would never appreciate the positive emotions if he never knew of the negative ones. That is why it is so important to face negative emotions and experience them, because by doing so, we build trust and confidence within ourselves. The worst thing we can do is to deny and repress them altogether. This only delays our spiritual growth.
Right.
No grief.
Oh, I love it, James. It's such a great book for that. So, is that book still available?
Yeah, it's still available on Amazon. It's a great
book.
Bible. And grief is about ourselves. It really is. It's about ourselves, our relationship with ourselves, our belief systems. Just like I said,
it challenges everybody. It challenges you.
Yeah, one thing I like what I wrote there, which I forgot I wrote until I read it, was we predicate our whole lives on these controlled systems, which there is no control. You don't know when the last day will be. What are we waiting for? So you have to ask yourself that. What's important? Your value systems come into question as well.
Yeah. So true. Thank you for that. Wow.
Yeah.
So true. Oh my gosh.
So want to ask some questions about miracles or anything else we'd like to? Thank you, Sue Wells. With blessed Thanksgiving, everybody. James, our and Kelly went. Thank you. Thank you, Sue Wells. That's very kind.
Oh, so sweet. Oh, this is sweet.
Healing Grief by James.
Healing Grief. Oh my gosh. Are you going to be teaching a grief class, James?
I am. The end of next year, I'm doing a grief class. That's right. I am.
I mean, that'll be so great for people.
And I'll be sending everybody a book that signs up for that course. So it'll be
that's amazing right there. That's fantastic.
You're going to be part of that course, Kelly.
Yay! I love to help people with grief. And this is sweet. Somebody named Niche Mystic said, I just wanted to shout out Kelly. That's so sweet. She said she helped me and my family find closure years ago when we booked her. I've shared her with everyone that comes across my path that needs closure.
Everybody.
So sweet.
Kelly.
Thanksgiving to you. There you go.
Renee, thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Renee. Thanks, everybody. Love you.
You've been listening to Both Sides Now and Beyond, featuring spiritual medium and master teacher James Van Praagh and spiritual medium and psychotherapist Kelly White.
That was great.
I did.
Maybe we changed some lives.
I felt like I wanted to help.
And maybe opened up some minds.
Which way do I turn?
Right. I mean left.
I'll be monitoring.
Yeah.
The James and Kelly Show.